You are now listening to Podcast with a K, a podcast dedicated to legendary hip-hop duo Outkast, where I not only discuss all things Outkast, but all things Dungeon Family related too, and more. I'm your host, Dan, aka Dan Marr, and as they say, I'm here to take you deep, straight to the point, cause it ain't nothing but king shit, all day, every day. Today's episode is our first album deep dive in what will be an ongoing series. We will go through the tracks to take you deep into the songs and learn about the meanings as well as stories, events, and successes that make up each album's era. For this episode, we will start at the beginning and explore their debut album, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music. Hooty-hoo! Sorry, I had to do it. In the last episode, we covered a little bit of the early recording sessions at producer Rico Wade's mother's basement, aka The Dungeon, where many demos were created, and after Outkast signed their record deal and were provided a $15,000 advance, initial recording of Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music began, but most of the recording actually occurred at other more professional studios, as The Dungeon was equipped with mostly used equipment and not a state-of-the-art setup. So through their new resources, they were also granted access to a few other studios where they recorded the album. In addition to The Dungeon, they recorded Southern Playalistic at Dallas Austin's DARP Studios, or DARP, and Bobby Brown's Bosstown Studio, which Outkast would purchase in 1999 and rename Stankonia, as well as a couple other studios in the ATL area. Stankonia is still there and still an active studio to this day, used by members of the Dungeon family as well as other artists who rent the space for recording. Southern Playalistic is a notable hip-hop album for its time and still today, as they utilize a lot of live instrumentation and less DJing and sampling like most other hip-hop records of the time. The South had something to say, and they'd say it in their own organic and soulful way, bringing in many of their crew to contribute to the effort, including the members of Goody Mob, Sleepy Brown, Big Rube, and basically all of the rest of the Dungeon family at the time. It was truly a family affair. They recorded over 30 songs for the album, but ultimately we only got 11 on the finished product. I've not been able to confirm this, so don't quote me, but I believe that I had heard that much of the songs that did not make this or ATLians were lost forever in a fire. It's a shame because I'd love to hear the cast-off tracks. I'm sure even cast-off tracks for Outkast, no pun intended, are still better than the best of many other artists, and it's truly a deep loss. But let's get into the songs that we all know and love that did make the album. While the Peaches intro might not be a song, it is a terrific intro that sets the mood right from the start. I've never had the fortune of visiting ATL yet. I certainly plan to visit the musical mecca on par with Motown, Harlem, and the Bronx, but I once had a layover there, and as I was flying into the airport, you know I had to press play on this album, and the opening track, as well as the Welcome to Atlanta interlude, were a perfect soundtrack, with the interlude even featuring a pilot welcoming you to Atlanta. Outkast knew what they were doing, and they were bringing all of the rest of the country, who had yet to know Atlanta and the South, into the region and welcoming us with some of that famous Southern hospitality right before hitting us with some unforgettable music. The first song on the album, which I also named the first episode of this podcast after, My Intro to Let You Know, is still one of my favorite Outkast songs and one of the best opening songs on a debut album ever recorded, in my opinion. It has a great vibe that really grabs your attention and lets you know that you're in for something special right from the start. The song serves as Outkast's intro to the world, but also kind of works as a farewell to their previous lives as regular folks. They were now on the path to becoming legends. Then again, we all know they were never regular. The song was later sampled by Jay-Z for his 1997 sophomore album, In My Lifetime Volume 1, for the track Rap Game Crack Game. He must have been an early fan because he took notice and sampled very early on in their career. Greatness recognizes greatness, I guess. Now, the next track might just be the first song I ever heard from Outkast when it came out and I was 9 or 10 years old. It's not only a jam, but just might have also spawned the catchphrase, ain't no thing but a chicken wang. Like the question of the chicken or the egg, I'm not sure what came first, the song or the saying. The content of this track expands on the life transition content of the previous track. It would be sampled by a bunch of people, most notably by Logic in recent years for his song GP4. Logic is heavily influenced by Outkast, and you can hear the influence in Outkast references throughout his whole catalog. Then the title track, Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, hit, which is a play on the word supercalifragilisticexpialidocious from the classic musical Mary Poppins. Outkast, of course, added a lot more flavor in their Southern rendition. Sorry, Julie Andrews. It would somewhat surprisingly not be the last time Outkast would pull inspiration from a Julie Andrews song, as Andre would do a cover of My Favorite Things from The Sound of Music a few albums later on The Love Below. Southern Playalistic distilled everything their music was, would continue to be, and evolve out of into one anthem. It schooled everyone on the South and what it meant to be a Southern playa, since we had only really heard from East and West Coast playas up until this point. And it was a party starter too. While their sound would drastically evolve over the years and discuss very different topics, largely leaving tales of drugs and more gangster rap-oriented themes behind, their Southern Playalistic essence was laid on this track and, of course, the whole album. It paved the way for a whole new set of rappers, particularly those from the South, of course. As mentioned earlier, the album was made collaboratively between Outkast, Organized Noise, Goodie Mob, and other Dungeon Family members, but the first to appear prominently on the album other than Outkast was Goodie Mob on Call of the Wild, as they were next on deck to release their first album in Southern classic Soul Food a year later. The whole crew appears on the album, but Big Gip was not featured on this particular track. They saved him for later, and it was welcome to see Timo featured so prominently since he sometimes seems to unfairly get a little overlooked. Now for Players Ball. This was their first ever single, but the original version was not the version that would make it on the album, as the original was actually a Christmas song requested by LaFace Records for the LaFace Family Christmas album. Outkast was not into the idea of doing a Christmas song at first and thought it would make them look soft and put their career in jeopardy right out of the gate. As Rico Wade once said, "We don't really fuck with Christmas like that." But this was their first request from their new label, which also housed stars like TLC, Usher, Toni Braxton, and Babyface, so they took the challenge and made a Christmas song for the hood and laid out some of the realities of their Christmas. The song would go on to be a success, peaking at number 37 on the Billboard Top 100 and number 12 on the Hot R&B and Hip Hop Songs chart. As mentioned, the original Christmas version was not the version that ultimately ended up on the album. They ended up editing the song a bit and took out some of the overt Christmas parts like lyrics around decking the halls to make it more universal and something you can jam to any time of year. A fun fact about the music video for Players Ball is that none other than Sean P. Diddy Combs himself, then known as Puff Daddy, directed the music video. The collaboration between Diddy and Outkast would not end there though, as they would tour with the Notorious B.I.G. soon after, and many years later, Big Boi would partner with Diddy to sign and launch second-generation Dungeon Family member Janelle Monáe. How legendary would it have been to have been one of the lucky souls at one of those Biggie Outkast concerts? I'm a little jealous. Actually, I'm a lot jealous. The smooth groove of the next track, Claimin' True, serves as the backing to a notice of authenticity to everyone listening, that when they tell their stories in their raps, they claim them all to be true. Unlike some of the mainstream rappers of the time, they are not spinning fairy tales like some of them, they are being true to themselves and speaking from their own life experiences. And that just sums up some of what makes them so special and part of the appeal of Outkast. They were always true to themselves, even when people thought they were out there for future musical experimentations and fashion choices. Not many can claim that. Funky Ride is one of the few Outkast songs in their whole catalog to not feature Andre and Big Boi prominently on it, or at all. Outside of a couple of intros, the only other song like that is Idlewild's Greatest Show on Earth with Macy Gray. This one features Society of Soul, which was an R&B group out of the Dungeon Family featuring Sleepy Brown, Ray Murray, Rico Wade, Big Rube, and Esperanza. Southern Playalistic was a family effort created to showcase the talent of not just Outkast but of the Dungeon Family, so it was only natural that they would share the spotlight on the album. As the song suggests, it is a funky ride guided by smooth synthesized sounds and organic lead guitar riffs. This one really puts me in the zone. Society of Soul would go on to release their own album, Brainchild, 2 years later, and I must say, I really wish they had done more because the album is right up there with all of the other early DF classics. I even own it on vinyl record. Get Up, Get Out might just be the most memorable and most anthemic song of all the songs on this whole classic album, and that's saying a lot. It features terrific and insightful conscious verses from Big, Dre, CeeLo, and Big Gip, driving home a message of encouragement and motivation to those who may be struggling to find their place in the world and make something out of themselves. As they say, you need to get up, get out, and get something. Don't let the days of your life pass by. You need to get up, get out, and get something. Don't spend all your time trying to get high. It has been sampled and referenced in a number of songs, from a couple of Jay-Z songs, Can I Get It and Say Hello, as well as by Macy Gray, Big Crit, and more, showing its relevance and long-lasting impact. It has so entered the zeitgeist that it has even been quoted in the Disney family movie A Wrinkle in Time by a character played by comedian and actress Mindy Kaling. On a personal note, I have been using the site Last.fm to track all of my music listening for the past 13 years, and in that time, Get Up, Get Out is one of my most listened to songs, sitting squarely in my top 50 most played, not just by Outkast, but across everything I listen to. Bona fide classic. The next one, Crumble and Herb, is somewhat of a rarity in Outkast's catalog, as it is a song encouraging folks to stop the fighting and violence and instead just chill out and smoke some herb. The reason I say this is a rarity is because Dre made a lot of personal changes following this album and became more spiritual, a vegetarian, and quit smoking and drinking, so the topic never really came up in the same way again, at least not in Dre's verses. The anti-violence message of the song and motivational get up, get out message of the previous song, paired with the topic of chilling out and smoking herb, very much displays the influence of Bob Marley on Outkast, particularly Big Boi, who considers him his favorite artist of all time, tied with Kate Bush. The title of the song is even reminiscent of Bob Marley's classic Get Up, Stand Up. There are not many better musical influences one can have than the legendary Bob Marley, and I'm sure that influence helped guide Outkast to their own greatness they would rise to. Now, I haven't really discussed the interludes on the album other than the first two, but there are a couple of funny ones towards the middle of the album. However, I thought it was worth quoting parts of the True Dat interlude spoken by the incomparable Big Rube because it really gets to the core of what Outkast is. No, I'm not quoting the whole interlude, but just some of the key parts. Operating under the crooked America system too long, Outkast, pronounced outcast, adjective meaning homeless or unaccepted in society, but let's look deeper than that. Are you an outcast? If you understand and feel the basic principles and fundamental truths contained within this music, you probably are. An outcast is someone who is not considered to be a part of the normal world. He is looked at differently. He is not accepted because of his clothes, his hair, his occupation, his beliefs, or his skin color. Now look at yourself. Are you an outcast? I know I am. Another one of Outkast's biggest anthems, Hootie Hoo, has also entered the public consciousness as a catchphrase of sorts, and like Get Up, Get Out has also been referenced in film, this one in the film Neighbors as their secret code to alert each other when the police were near. The song is another one that deals with the subject of marijuana, as this one is an ode to their favorite rap at the time, White Owls. The term has stuck so much it was later referenced in the comical skit on their greatest hits album, Big Boi and Dre Present Outkast. The skit is set in a distant time after Outkast is long gone and the elders are telling the stories of yesteryear and say, if you listen real close, you can still hear them boys. Hootie hoo! It's a great intro. Big Boi also named one of his owls after the song. He has 3 owls, Hootie, Houdini, and Simon. Now, as the title suggests, the final song on the album goes deep into a discussion on stereotypes of the black community and is a song of pride, as well as a notice to the listeners that, if you didn't already realize, they are not going to talk about the common and shallow tropes of some of the other hip-hop music that was popular at the time, but they were committed to taking things deeper, to ignite the mind with ideas and thoughtful philosophies. They were never just here to entertain, but also to educate, and maybe even help in the evolution of their community, society at large, and the human race. And boy did they accomplish that over the course of their 6 albums. Don't all the greatest artists? Before I end this episode, it's time for a bit of Outkast news since the last episode. Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably heard the new Andre verse on the leaked track Life of the Party that was cut from the final version of Kanye West's newest album, Donda. You may have also heard all the drama around it due to Kanye's verse serving to further ignite his beef with Drake, and Drake somehow getting the track and leaking it himself. Andre immediately issued a statement distancing himself from the beef, showing respect for both Kanye and Drake and neutrality on the beef. Unfortunately, Kanye tampered with the heartfelt tone of the song that Andre set with his verse by inserting the beef into the latter half of the song. But Andre's verse still stands on its own and has been since praised across the board as one of the best features and verses by anyone in recent memory. His verse served as a prayer to Kanye's mother Donda, asking her to pass a message along to his own mother, who passed away 8 years ago on no worse day than his own birthday, May 27th. I recommend checking out this song as well as one of the few songs Andre has released on his own in the last 15 years called Me and My to Bury Your Parents. His father died less than a year after his mother, so he wrote a beautiful song to both, and his newest verse on the Kanye song is a great epilogue to it. Being raised by his mother and hearing the songs over the years where he speaks on her, you can tell he had a great relationship with her and that his hurt runs deep. Our thoughts and condolences are still with you, Dre. On a brighter note, some of the biggest Outkast news since last time is that Rolling Stone put out an updated rank of the 500 greatest songs of all time, and even though these types of lists can sometimes be jokes, and this list gets a little dicey in some spots with some odd inclusions, exclusions, and positioning, it was voted on by other artists and music insiders, and our boys Outkast popped up 4 times on the list, all in the top 150. Miss Jackson at 145, International Players Anthem at 91, Bombs Over Baghdad at 39, and Hey Ya at, wait for it, number 10. Our boys are in the top 10. Now, as fans, we might have wanted other songs or more songs included or placed higher, but this is a huge feat for Outkast as they sometimes are underrated and overlooked by the mainstream, and things like this help to cement their legacy long after me and you, your mama, and your cousin too are long gone. They are up there with the likes of the Beatles, Prince, Michael Jackson, and Bob Dylan with the most spots claimed, all having around 3 to 5 songs on the list, meaning they are among legends. They are legends. Some of our other friends popped up on the list too, with Erykah Badu's Tyrone at 448, Childish Gambino's Redbone at 383, Gnarls Barkley's Crazy at 307, TLC's No Scrubs at 303, Tribe Called Quest's Can I Kick It at 292, Usher's Yeah at 290, TLC's Waterfalls, produced by Organized Noise at 127, and Big Boy's and my personal favorite female singer, Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill at number 60. Also, Jay-Z's 99 Problem was 96, but should have been 99. And just in case you are wondering, they put Aretha Franklin's Respect at number 1. Respect. So I know in the last episode I mentioned that the new Big Boy and Sleepy Brown album, Big Sleepover, would be coming out September 3rd, but the reporting on that from various sources ended up being incorrect. That or the album was pushed back, it's still unclear. It has still yet to be released. Last I saw, it was supposed to come out today, September 24th, as they even created a landing page to pre-save the album, but that didn't happen either. So, unfortunately, as of the taping of this episode, I have no further updates on the release of the Big Sleepover album, but fingers crossed we will finally have the long-awaited album soon. Last episode came out the week of the 25th anniversary of ATLiens, and yesterday, September 23rd, was the 18th anniversary of Outkast's landmark album Speakerboxxx The Love Below, which is my personal favorite album of all time. As a big lover of all genres and especially jazzy and funky stuff, the genre bending of this masterpiece will always reign supreme for me, and I will dig deep into that album in a future episode. Finally, for some news on some of the rest of the Dungeon family and friends, a few days ago, Goody Mob released a really great and visually adventurous new video for the song Pray for the Sheep featuring Big Boy, so make sure to check that out on YouTube. Erykah Badu is currently on tour. I will be seeing her live at Radio City Music Hall next week, and I can't wait. You can check her touring schedule out online and catch her at a venue near you. I hear she puts on a great show. And that brings us to the end of this episode. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is that Southern Playalistic is an especially special Outkast album for me, as it is the one I had both Big and Dre sign on vinyl when I met them each individually. I no longer play that copy as it is the crown jewel of my Outkast collection and is framed, but I purchased a second copy as my new playing copy. I will treasure the signed copy forever. Forever, ever. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for tuning into another episode of Podcast with a K. Next month's episode, The South Got Something to Say, will be an interview with Ronnie Sarig, the author of the 2007 book, Third Coast, Outkast, Timbaland, and How Hip Hop Became a Southern Thing. So check back later next month for that episode, and until next time, hootie hoo! Break!